Hello and welcome to C-SPAN Review. My name is Mike and we review C-SPAN. We log the calls, we log the data, we map out the states, and hopefully you like it. So let's get going into the review.
Washington Journal is next. Join the conversation.
This is the Washington Journal for May 23rd. For the next hour, tell us your top news story of the week. Just yesterday, President Trump announced another resignation from his cabinet, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. On Capitol Hill, strong Republican pushback against the acting Attorney General Todd Blanche for the proposed Justice Department anti-weaponization fund. And earlier in the week, the president's influence on primary elections was felt with the defeat of Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie and the endorsement of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in the GOP Senate runoff next Tuesday. You can choose one of those stories or add one of your own as the top news story of the week. Here's how you can give us a call and tell us. 202-748-8000 for Democrats, 202-748-8001 for Republicans, and Independents, 202-748-8002. Text us if you wish at 202-748-8003. You can post on Facebook at facebook.com/cspan and also on X at cspanwj. As you're calling in, we've hinted at it at the top of the show, but here's some of the stories you might want to consider as a top news story. You can always add your own. We mentioned that the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, announcing her resignation yesterday, this after 15 months in the Trump administration. Also yesterday, DHS instituting new green card restrictions, reporting on that this morning. Earlier in the week, it was that anti-weaponization fund that GOP senators responded to on Capitol Hill, getting sharp criticism against the acting attorney general. And then the president himself, even as of yesterday, claiming victories in those midterm primaries. You can comment on those, again, on other things as well when it comes to political news. 202-748-8000 for Democrats, 202-748-8001 for Republicans, and Independents, 202-748-8002. The Washington Post highlighting the resignation of Tulsi Gabbard, she herself posting the reasons why. Quote,
all right, our first
unfortunately,
source.
I must submit my resignation effective June 30th, 2026. My husband, Abraham, has recently been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer, she wrote in a letter to Mr. Trump. At the time, I must step away from public service to be by his side and fully support him through this battle. Her husband is Abraham Williams, a cinematographer. The story also adding that a person familiar with the situation said that Williams' diagnosis notwithstanding, Gabbard had been pressured to depart by White House officials increasingly unhappy with her actions, which have brought unwelcome publicity and diverted attention from the president's message. The person, like some others interviewed, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal administration dynamics. The president himself, after receiving the news of this resignation announcement, posting on Truth Social, giving his own thoughts on the matter, saying this: unfortunately, after having done a great job, Tulsi Gabbard will be leaving the administration on June the 30th. Her wonderful husband, Abraham, had been recently diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer. She rightfully wants to be with him, bringing him back to good health as they currently fight a tough battle together. I have no doubt he will soon be better than ever. Tulsi has done an incredible job, and we will miss her. Her highly respected Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence, Aaron Lucas, will serve as Acting Director of National Intelligence. That finished off by the president. Also, in other news, when it comes to green cards, this being posted by Semaphore, but reporting yesterday, new actions by the Homeland Security Department when it comes to green card policy. Shelby Talcott and Lauren Mossenberger reporting that the Department of Homeland Security clarified the immigration policy announced on Friday, suggesting that current H-1B visa holders could be able to, quote, continue on their current path. The Trump administration's new directive called for requiring most people seeking green cards to apply for permanent residency from outside the U.S., a shift that could impact millions of workers, including high-skilled tech industry employees and spouses of U.S. citizens. A spokesperson for U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, however, told Semaphore that H-1B visa holders and high-skilled workers might not be affected in the near term. The agency is, quote, merely restating and reasserting its reading of the congressional intent regarding immigration status changes, the USCIS spokesperson said. That's Semaphore reporting that. When it comes to earlier in the week, a lot of news was made when it comes to the anti-weaponization fund that was unveiled by the Justice Department. It was just on This Week in Congress that Senate Republicans reacted to that proposal. Here's the story from the New York Times. Senate GOP lunch turns livid over talk of $1.8 billion fund. Michael Gold, in part, reporting this. Instead of what unfolded in an ornate room just off the Senate on Thursday morning was a 2-hour blow-up in which dozens of Republican senators vented their anger and concern about the president's fund at Mr. Blanche. They questioned its legal basis, whom it would pay, and the process of how it would work. And they also made it clear that they wanted no part of the plan, the product of a deal between Mr. Trump's lawyers and his own administration to use money Congress does not control to pay off purported victims of government mistreatment, potentially including some of the rioters who violently assaulted their workplace during January 6, 2021, the riot that took place
Potentially,
there.
including
it was
potentially.
earlier in the week that the acting attorney general appeared before Capitol Hill before the Senate. And here's an exchange with Delaware Democratic Senator Chris Coons over that anti-weaponization fund.
Chris Coons.
President Trump is the first president to sue
Douchebag.
his own government and then direct his chosen acting attorney general to reach this kind of settlement.
Look at the point on
Will
his
you
head.
commit that none of President Trump's family will receive a direct payout from this fund?
Well, yes, but what you just said is not true. I mean, if I can correct that.
Please.
The president did not direct me to do anything. And secondly, when we said it was that the structure of the commission is similar to Keep Siegel, that's true.
Come
It wasn't-
on.
The
Let's
case,
get
the
to
underlying
the
case is not the same.
Has
The
it-
structure of the commission is the same as the Keep Siegel
Has
commission.
it ever happened that a sitting president sued his own government for $10 billion and then directed the settlement of the case and the establishment of a payout fund?
Not that I'm aware, but there's a lot of things that President Trump's the first of. No president had been indicted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Correct.
6, 7, 8 times either.
Correct. No
And-
president's been indicted. And will you commit that none of this money will go to President Trump's campaign donors?
I am not committing to anything beyond the settlement agreement
God,
itself.
these
When you say
fucking
campaign
Democrats are
donors,
terrible.
that they are not excluded from seeking compensation.
Last
they were
question.
weaponized.
During Police Week, I heard from a number of law enforcement friends who found it appalling that there was the possibility that folks like the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, who had assaulted Capitol police officers, could receive multi-million-dollar payouts from this fund. Will you commit that no one who has been convicted of assaulting a police officer will receive a payout from this fund?
So I shared the concerns that apparently members of law enforcement gave to you last week, although none of this was announced last week, so that's surprising. But
They had
I
heard
accept
rumors
that.
there would be a settlement.
Oh, there's
fund.
rumors. Yeah,
But
we heard.
anybody can apply. The commission will set. The commissioners will set rules. I'm sure. That's not for me to set. That's for the commissioners. And whether an individual, an oath keeper, as you just mentioned, applies for compensation, is anybody in this country can apply.
Again, that was earlier in the week. That may be something you consider a top news story. Tell us what you think. 202-748-8000 for Democrats, Republicans, 202-748-8001. Independents, 202-748-8002. In California, independent line, we start with Gregory. Gregory, good morning.
Hello. I am calling to remind people listening to this program and what is still, even with all of our problems, a pretty
Here we
comfortable part of the
go.
world.
I love this
of the
one, guys.
misery unfolding across the planet, and misery that we are helping to cause, and misery which we could do an awful lot to help alleviate. For example, in Somalia, they're on the verge of a famine that's going to affect tens of millions, many of them children. Most people care about children. They've had a series of droughts for years, largely caused by, if not completely, destruction of climate stability and global heating, destroying the ability to raise food. You've got families hiking for tens of miles with no food in their bellies, trying to carry children who are starving so badly that by the time they get to help, the children have died, or if they can get health care of some rudimentary kind, they need oxygen just to be able to breathe well enough to eat.
So,
We
Gregory,
have
for all those things you listed, what do you think the U.S. should be doing?
dollars for Somalia at the end of 2024. On $3
Fucking Somalians here in America ruined it for the Somalians everywhere.
million, which is just dust compared to the earlier amount. The amount of human suffering that this country could choose to help alleviate with $1 billion, we're going to spend that kind of money on a stupid ballroom when, in fact, we could be helping hundreds of thousands and maybe ultimately 1 million or 2 people live wise.
Okay, that's Gregory there. Let's hear from Dwayne. Dwayne in New York, Independent Line, the top story of the week to you. Go ahead.
Morning, Pedro. Just listening to Todd Blanche. He's so skillful because he comes from New York Southern District. These attorneys in Southern District of New York, they're so skillful in how they talk and how they come across on how to sell to America that he can give. They can give money out to these pariahs. Where Pam Bondi, she's not that skilled in how she can come across, and people can believe him. So it's going to be very interesting when November comes around and when the MAGAs or anyone independents like myself go out and vote and see how we're going to bring this country back together. Because Trump is not going to be president for life. So let's remind ourselves that this country needs to come back to where it was when we had good presidents.
And for the record, these are...
So is the top story to you the Attorney General himself or him talking about this
lefty
fund?
independents?
Both, Pedro, both. Just listening to that when Senator Kuhn was questioning him, how Pam Bondi would have just been insulting, where he was geared in trying to make us feel soothing. He's like a psychiatrist. We're sitting on the couch listening to him. So that's my big story.
Okay. Dwayne in New York, another person, John Renshaw off of Facebook, commenting about the fund that was announced. He characterizes it as this, the Trump slush fund for criminals. It's the most corrupt scheme ever devised by a president. I hope this kind of stuff stops. These people should be prosecuted for stealing our tax dollars. You can call us if you want to make your thoughts known.
Don't care about the Somalis stealing billions and the
X also available to you if you want to post
billions.
there. Democrats line in Indiana. Jeff, hello.
Hey, good morning, Pedro. I want to talk about the January 6th so-called payout with the $1.9 billion. Well, why should my tax-paying dollars go to
I bet you none of these people have read this fucking...
the Klan and the Nazis.
Fund.
And if you want to pay them, get Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos to reach in their own pocket and pay them, but not my tax dollars to people who assaulted our Capitol and attacked police officers. I can only imagine if Barack Obama was going to give payout to Antifa or BLM, how to...
Barack Obama used the federal government to spy on Trump, his campaign, his transition, and his presidency. I want to hear shit about Obama.
Republicans would just have a nervous breakdown and just go berserk. So no, I don't want my taxpaying dollars to go to fascists and to cowards. Fascist people who urinate and defecate in our nation's capital.
That's Jeff there in Indianapolis. The New York Times story also adds that some Republicans anticipating that Democrats would propose limitations on steering money to people
another
who had
New York
been pardoned
Times
by
article.
Mr. Trump, but then accused of other crimes. Pressed Mr. Blanche on how the fund's managers would weigh such decisions, but many of them felt they did not leave the meeting. This took place on Thursday with more clarity than when they entered. Again, that hearing that we showed you from earlier is still available on the app and the website if you want to see those exchanges with the acting attorney general over that fund. Minneapolis, on our independent line, John, top news story of the week.
Again,
hello.
Not one Republican yet.
Hi, Pedro. Thanks for taking my call. My top story is this whole slush fund or whatever they want to call it. I'm an ex-cop. I spent 24 years in law enforcement, and I had to retire due to a almost near-death experience. Now, I'm coming from a different
Minnesota.
I don't know if people realize or this administration or president, those videos that we saw of what happened at the Capitol, when they assaulted the Capitol. That was real. Okay, that wasn't a computer generated or AI or any of that type of stuff.
They won't tell you that there was 274 FBI agents undercover there.
But to come up with a fund, whether they give it to the Proud Boys or whomever, I mean, what are we doing here?
Well, the administration did say that anybody of any political stripe, if they felt they've been weaponized, so to speak, could apply for this fund. I know that people highlight January 6th, but they made a clear case to widen it out. What did you think of that response as part of the whole topic of the fund itself?
I think it's balderdash, because to me, these people who, I mean, the real nitty gritty here is, why do we need a fund like this? Okay, because I don't see the purpose when there's people
Did he just say
in this country
Boulder
that
Gash?
are starving. There are people in this country that are hurting. Myself, I was a law
This is Boulder Gash.
enforcement, like I said, for 24 years. I enjoyed doing what I was doing. And I had to retire because of the fact that something traumatic happened to me. Now, I'm thinking about all these law enforcement people out here who have gone through these same type of trauma experiences or whatever. Even people that even work with law enforcement will tell you this is wrong. This is just downright wrong in this country for a president, a sitting president, to sit up and do this. But he doesn't honor these law enforcement officers.
This is after Biden and the Democrats opened the fucking southern border and allowed millions and millions and millions of people to stream in. And now there's Americans dead because of these fucking people. I don't have any sympathy.
At the state capitol. He turns his back on them like he turns his back on the victims of this Epstein thing. But the thing is that, how much more he's going to extort from this country.
I've
The
tried to call the show
ballroom
for
and now
days.
this.
Okay.
to
I
get
mean,
in.
the list goes on and on.
Okay. John there in Minneapolis. This is in Indiana. Catherine, Democrats line. Hello.
Fucking another
Good
Democrat.
morning. Hi, my name is Catherine, and I'm from Indiana. Just letting you know that this is what happens when you don't go through the line of command before.
The line
with
of
this
command.
war and with this
Fucking
slush
idiot.
fund, the bottom line is that we are hurting because we can't afford gas, we can't afford food. They created this this fund, but all it is basically taking our tax money and going to use it against us if we don't comply with him.
So is the
Because
top story for you the fund, or is the top story you for the economy? How would you characterize that if you had to boil it down into one?
Boil it down into one. This money that he's trying to hold is illegal. It should go through Congress. And Congress is right now is not doing their duty. So right now the money that he's
Democrats think that Republicans should go against their Republican president. Democrats just want it their way. That's it. They don't want it any other way. Unbelievable, these people. They complain about the fountains are clean and working and there's nice statues everywhere in D.C. These people are upset. They'd rather have the graffiti, the crap on the ground, the drug dealers everywhere, the tent cities. I mean, these people are fucking crazy.
trying to hold our tax money, the people, it's a no, because it's not been appropriate by our Congress.
Not been appropriate by
Okay,
our Congress.
Catherine there in Indiana. We also mentioned if you wanted to add to the mix of stories, your top one when it comes to primary victories. The president campaigning for New York Republican Mike Lawler in yesterday talked about primary results. This NBC story highlights the fact that how he flexed the strength of his party transforming political movement, continuing successful process of eliminating political enemies within the GOP. At the same time, the president's low approval ratings in the war with Iran have raised red flags in key Republican primaries.
That's the narrative. Trump's crushing it in the primaries, but he's losing.
Among base voters who support his America First agenda that included the idea of a focus on domestic issues. But in the meantime, the president continues to prove he can not only influence the Republican primary electorate, but also attack Republicans who have opposed him in any way without feeling there are significant negative consequences. During that rally yesterday in New York, the president mentioning those primary victories, as he called them, Here's a portion of that from yesterday.
These
I'll tell you what, we won all my life. I went through life watching politics. I love politics. Always watched. I never thought I'd be a politician. Could you believe it? I'm a politician. I hate the sound.
I can't believe it.
But remember that. Although I had a good night the other night, right? We knocked out a bad senator from Louisiana. We knocked out Massey, a horrible, one of the worst Republican congressmen ever. We knocked out somebody in Georgia, Rathensberger. We knocked him out. We knocked out everybody. We were 38-0. 30. Think of that, 38-0. Who's 38-0? We haven't lost one in years. You want to know the truth? We have. Let me tell you. We have Make America Great Again, MAGA. We have a movement the likes of which this country has never seen. And you know, it's a movement based on common sense. It's not that it's conservative maybe, but it's a movement based on common sense. We want strong borders, we want good education, we want low taxes, we want a strong military. How good is our military, right?
Good. Huh?
That was yesterday. You can still see it on the app and the website. The Texas GOP Senate runoff next Tuesday.
Still not a Republican
Watch us
caller
for
yet.
coverage of what
We're already
results
20
between
minutes
that
in.
contest between the incumbent Senator, Republican John Cornyn, and the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Independent line in Atlanta, Georgia. David, hello. Your top news story of the week.
Oh, I wonder who this is going to be.
Good morning, Pedro. Thank you for taking my call.
Democrat.
I wanted to talk about the Straits of Hormuz, Pedro. It's the United States, the president, it's all about distractions. They don't emphasize the importance of that waterway. The Straits of Hormuz affects the global economy. It affects the entire world. Now, they say that our U.S. Navy is in control of the Straits of Hormuz. I don't think so. And I would just like for you to just emphasize the importance of that waterway to the world.
How would you emphasize it? What case would you make?
What would you
yourself?
do? What would you do, David?
The entire global economy, Pedro. Anything, everything from oil, gas, fertilizer, everything.
Okay. David there in Atlanta. Axios, it was yesterday reporting that the president had convened a meeting with the senior national security team on the war in Iran, adding that the president seriously considering launching new strikes against Iran, barring a last-minute breakthrough in negotiations. According to sources, the Iran meeting took place as the head of the Pakistani military, Field Marshal Asim Munir, traveled to Tehran in an apparent 11th-hour effort to bridge the gaps and prevent a resumption of war. A Qatari delegation also arrived in Tehran on Friday to support the mediation effort. That's Axios there. Let's hear from Bradley in Georgia. Democrats line. Hello.
Other Democrat.
Hello. America, I just want you to hear the sequence of events here. And y'all feel free to, if I say anything incorrect, let me know. Donald Trump, during his first administration, his IRS department leaked 400,000 tax returns, which one of those happened to be Donald Trump's. So he now he sues his own government and sues it for $10 billion. And then he says, no, I will not sue you for $10 billion as long as we get this slush fund for whoever wants to use it. But also his family, his businesses, and himself will never be audited by the IRS. It is the most corrupt thing I have ever. I mean, it gets old saying it, obviously, but it is the most it's just absurd. I mean, what is there anything the Republicans will do?
I mean,
I wouldn't doubt if this was his plan all along. I mean, it was his administration. It was his administration when Jeffrey Epstein got killed. It was his administration with COVID. It was his Republicans.
He's either the dumbest guy on the planet or he's this giant mastermind that saw all this happening and has it all lined up. Unbelievable, these people. The logic gymnastics that they have to figure out.
Wake up. I'm begging you.
Wake up, y'all.
Alex is next.
Wake up.
Alex in Delaware, independent line.
Yes, I just want to tell you that the Democrats were in office with the IRS when they went after Donald Trump's taxes, and they were in office when they leaked his taxes out on everybody. So it's the Democrats' fault that all this stuff is going on about this right now, and everybody ought to know that. It's the Democrats that were in office when this happened.
Well, as far as the reaction to it, what do you think about the creation of this fund that people have been talking about this morning?
It doesn't make a difference. If the Democrats didn't do that, this wouldn't have happened. Right?
When you say it doesn't make a difference, what do you mean?
Still no Republican.
If the
25
Democrats
minutes
didn't
into this
leak
recording.
his taxes out, this would have never came about.
But C-SPAN always says they're bipartisan. Bipartisan would have at least one Republican up there. And this guy that's calling in now is the only independent that's not on the Democrat side. Obviously.
Sure, but the fund is being created or at least reported. So what do you think about that specifically?
I don't know what no one knows what it's going to be about yet. So why is people surmising different things? But what I'm saying is the Democrats are going after his taxes, and they're the ones that was in office when this all happened.
Okay, you made that point several times, so we'll show you Chuck Schumer from earlier this week, also reacting to the announcement of this fund, reaction on Capitol Hill, including from Republicans. Here he is making comments on Tuesday.
I can't stand this son of a bitch.
Political payouts, personal perks, and vanity projects, and now a get-out-of-jail-free card for Trump and all his family on tax matters. That's what the GOP under Trump's leadership stands for right now. We've learned that Trump's funneling nearly $2 billion in taxpayer dollars into a slush fund for his friends, his far-right loyalists, and January 6th insurrectionists. He made a deal with himself. First, unbelievably, he sues the government for $10 billion. Then he says, with his other hand, I am the government. I'll settle for $1.7 billion.
Chuck Schumer,
the money
the penguin,
goes to all kinds of assorted characters who don't deserve it. Probably Trump himself.
41
Trump
years
could care
this
less
guy's been in office.
That the Americans are
41
struggling
years.
to put food on the table and pay higher prices at the pump.
This is the guy that took a photo op with raw cheeseburgers or raw hamburgers with cheese on them. Clown.
He cares only about enriching himself. And as I said, his corruption knows no end. His new slush fund contains a provision that there should be no prosecution or investigation of Trump or his family members on any tax matter, a get-out-of-jail-free card that he negotiated with himself. What kind of America is this? What kind of man is this?
Let's hear from Frank. Frank in New York, independent line.
Listen to that.
Hi, how you doing? Okay, I'm calling about something. It's really bugging me. It's a new rule that if you're an immigrant, if you want to apply for green card, you actually have to go back to your country and then apply for your green card through the consulate, and then you, instead of coming back, you might have to wait. You may not be allowed to come back until you hear from them. Now, this is just about applying for a green card, and this is like, I know it's one thing to be against illegal immigration. This seems to be a sneaky way to be against legal immigration, like making it even harder, putting up more obstacles for people who are doing the right thing. They have a job, they're paying taxes, they may have a family, they have many reasons to be in the United States right now, and now when they want to apply for a green card, they have to go back to their country? No, this is wrong.
What disturbs you about it the most?
What?
But it's, I've gone through this in a personal way with someone
no
else,
Republican.
and that the person I knew, we were able to apply for green card by staying in America. You don't have to go back to your country. That would be terrible. I mean, let's say two people, an American is dating someone, and they're in love, and they've been dating. Now the other person would have to go back and ruin this upsets people's lives. This is a way of destroying legal immigration, not illegal, and it's just wrong, flat out wrong. Man, I don't know what's the plan of the
This country allows almost 1 million people in here legally every single year. No other country does that. No other country.
Republicans to try to get votes from the immigrants. They're not going to, when they become citizens, they're not going to get any votes ever from immigrants who become citizens, because they're not even giving them a chance to become a citizen if they can't get the green card. It's unfair.
Okay.
Really unfair.
That's Frank there in New York. That semaphore story that I showed you earlier making this announcement goes on to say that the administration's policy shift, which sets up potentially years-long delays for applicants, will face legal challenges. Quote, you can't, through a stroke of a pen, overturn a statute. That's the attorney Todd Pomerleau telling ABC News it's illegal and it's going to get shut down in court. The announcement ricocheted through the tech industry, with critics arguing it could disrupt scientists and AI startups if H-1B holders and other high-skilled visa holders were affected. And it quotes the Lincoln founder Reid Hoffman saying, harmful move for tech, business, and America broadly.
Reid Hoffman's an Epstein files.
Broadly, officials said the policy allows our immigration system to function as the law intended instead of incentivizing loopholes. Renee is next in Pennsylvania. Top story of the week. Democrats line. Hello.
Hi. This slush fund, $1.9 billion to the people from January the 6th.
Still no Republicans.
Well, it covers a wide scope of people.
Still no Republican voices.
I know that the story has been reporting as far as January 6th is concerned, but go ahead.
All left-wing sources and politicians.
I just feel that Trump or whoever, Roger Stone or whatever people connected to it, they're getting a payday for going up there to the Capitol. And I don't understand how they went up there, they threatened people's lives. If a normal person went somewhere and threatened with a group of people and threatened lives or something, and they were looking to hang Mike Pence, and, I don't understand. Those are crimes. And for them to want to fund and give them money, and because they had to go to court and go to jail, they should have went to jail. They broke the law. There were Capitol Police that were injured, died. It just, I don't get it. I really don't. And as far as the fellow from Delaware with the taxes, all the presidents always showed their taxes. Always. There was never a problem with someone running for president showing their tax returns. Trump didn't want to show them because he had a lot of things in there he didn't want everyone to see, and he wasn't telling the truth.
This lady knows what's in Trump's tax returns that everybody wanted to see. These people. Like, she knows what's in there, even though she doesn't know what's in there. But she knows what's in there.
And that's why.
The Washington Post highlights some of the people already interested in applying to this fund. The subhead says, January 6 rioters George Santos, Mark McCloskey, and Rod Blagojevich. A wide range of figures are eyeing the president's new settlement fund, saying, and starting with Mark McCloskey, is eagerly waiting for details to emerge on how to apply for the administration's $1.8 billion settlement fund, both for himself and the then January 6 rioters he represents as a lawyer. Everyone's very excited about it. It's the first ray of light we've seen in a long time. And the story says that since the incident in 2020, one of his legal causes has been aiding people prosecuted for their actions during the January 6 insurrection at the Capitol. Last year, he said he advocated for a fund to support those charged, meeting with the Justice Department officials to make the case for compensation similar to those given to families for the victims of September 11th. More there from the Washington Post if you want to read that there for yourself. Texas is Plano, Texas, Independent Line. Diane, hello.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for taking my call. I want to just first say something that's not in the news that's really, really concerning me, and it's our Social Security. None of the... Are you there?
Yeah, Diane, go ahead.
Oh, okay. None of the politicians are even bringing it up, and we hear about in about 8 years or so it's going to run out of money, or the people that are on Social Security are going to have to take a 25% cut. So my thought is, why doesn't somebody talk about it now? I'm almost 70 years old. I'm still working. I've paid into the system 50 years, and I just wished we had politicians that really go to work for our problems. And another thing that's bugging me, again, is I'm in the finance world, and I'm just shocked to hear that our presidents they said, I think, 3,700 trades in a very short period of time, averaging maybe 10 a day. That is, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, inside trading. Martha Stewart went to jail for that. I mean, anybody else, the federal FBI would be at their door. How would you have that many trades? You make a trade, you buy a bunch of stock, and then you pump up the company so your stock price goes up. I mean, this is crazy. We're just in a world that is just very foreign to us as a democracy. And the last thing I want to bring up is we have a court system already. So to come up with a slush fund that says even some of these people that had their day in court, and they were truly, they went to jail or whatever happened. Then
none of this
you
has happened
pardon
yet.
all of
They
these
just
people
assume.
that attacked the same congressmen that were running for cover in the White House. They're the same ones that were actually backing the slush fund bill after the police were trying to protect them. So it's just crazy that what's going on now in those three areas, and that's been on my mind. Thank you for taking my call.
Diane in Texas, giving us several top stories. Add yours to the mix, 202-748-8000 for Democrats, Republicans, 202-748-8001. Independents, 202-748-8002. Guy in Oklahoma, Republican line. You're next
The
up.
first
Hello.
Republican.
Hey, good morning, Pedro. You look
First
sharp
Republican,
as always.
35 minutes.
About the 15 people
35
that were
minutes.
arrested a couple days ago in Minneapolis for stealing the hundreds of millions
Garbage,
of dollars.
man.
And in fact, one of them
That's
has
why I
already
do
been
this.
prosecuted. She got 40 years for stealing
That's why I do
$230 million.
this.
One
I
person,
can
$230 million.
This
And
garbage.
she was
Look,
the director at one of those social
the call
services.
count down here in the lower left.
You know, like the
call count here in the lower left. Look at here. 7 independents, 4 Democrats, and 1 Republican. And those 7 independents, maybe 1 was like down the middle or Republican leaning. The rest were all obvious Democrats. So this is not unbiased. They always say, oh, we take the calls as they come in. It's been 35 minutes during this replay of the show, and they finally get to 1 Republican.
Center. And then also, Pedro, they found 600,000 illegal ballots, mail-in ballots. And this has not been talked about on the fake news at all. And one more thing about the slush fund. No, it's not a slush fund. It's a reparations fund. For an example, the 40,000 military people that were ousted, lost their benefits, lost their retirement. Here's a chance for them to get some reparations. Black people in America that have had, like Rodney King, here's a chance for him to get some fair reparations.
Rodney
Floyd,
King's dead, though.
This is a chance for people that have been wronged by the government
George
to
Floyd's
get
dead,
payback.
too.
It's not a slush fund. It's a reparations fund. I'm sorry. Thank you, Pedro, and everybody have a great holiday weekend.
Guy in Oklahoma there. This is Paul in Florida, Republican line.
Oh,
hello, you're
now
next
we
up.
get him. Now
Yes,
we're getting 'em.
thank you for taking my call. Boy, that caller is a hard person to follow because I agree with what he says. You know, you talk about a slush fund, but really there's been slush funds out there all along. Who's been paying the NGOs to bring illegals into our country illegally? The American taxpayers. It's
Banger.
a slush fund. Who gave Stacey Abrams billions of dollars on a grant on a business that she just started with just a few $100s in an account? The American taxpayers. So there's been a lot of this. And you know what? People want to say, I mean, even what you put on with Schumer, he did a lot of assuming. It wouldn't even put it past him that Trump would get some of this money. Donald Trump doesn't need that money. He's got plenty of money. He donates all of his money from his salary back to different organizations. He pays taxes on it and gives it back to tax-free the U.S. Park Services and different organizations. But everybody wants to say Trump, Trump, Trump. Who paid for the flagpoles in front of and back of the White House? Donald Trump. So everybody wants to say all this garbage. And then bringing up January 6th, look at the video where there's a Capitol police officer running up and down the sidewalk waving people up to the Capitol building. That's from the Capitol. What about all the ABC inside putting the sound to the video inside, because there's no sound to the cameras in the Capitol building. They don't allow it because you got people talking business in there, so there's no sound. Why would you have to hire a producer to do something like that?
Yes.
Okay, Paul there in
Kim Whaley. I'm sure she'll be on here soon. Oh, I bet you. I bet you within the next 2 weeks she's on here.
Florida calling in, talking about a couple of things. We've been talking to you about the primary results of this week, and one of those reactions from his loss earlier in the week, Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie, after his loss, speaking to his supporters, talking about the president and the end result of Tuesday for him. Here he is from earlier this week.
Look, we ran a race that you can be proud of. You have to apologize to nobody tomorrow for anything you did. And we kept smiling the whole time. When I was called a moron at the prayer breakfast, I said, I'm glad I'm in his prayers. That would be my advice to you all. Don't dig in. Don't get mad. Don't even try to get even. Just stay on your course. Get our stuff done. Get the things you care about done. We weren't really running against Ed Galrine. We weren't running against Donald Trump. We were running for what we believe in. Listen, if you always vote with the president, if the legislative branch always votes with the president, we do have a king. If the legislative branch always votes whichever way the wind is blowing, then we have mob rule. But if the legislative branch and the representatives and the senators that serve with it always follow the Constitution, we have a republic.
Your top news story of the week, Carolyn, in Ohio, Democrats lying. Go ahead.
Yes, my one and only topic that I want to discuss is good news. There were 3 young men out of Rickenbacker Air Force Base in Columbus, Ohio, where I was born and raised, and they passed away. They were on the refueling team, and one of them, Master Sergeant Tyler Simmons, there was a group of 100 men that raised money in time for Tyler Simmons graduated from Eastmoor Academy, and they raised money to give a scholarship to a male and a female who was in the military graduating from Eastmoor Academy. And I thought, wow, if we had those 100 men in Congress, how much faster maybe would things get done? I was so impressed that they got that done in time for graduation ceremony. So I just wanted to share that on this Memorial Day weekend. I know it's a little bit early, but I just that was on my mind, and it's been on my mind since I heard it on a Columbus station. So thank you, Pedro, and everybody have a happy Memorial Day.
WBNS, the CBS affiliate, has the story, and it just went away as sometimes iPads will work in dotty fashions. But here's the story. Eastmore Academy seniors receive inaugural scholarship honoring the caller's mention of Master Sergeant Tyler Simmons there. By the way, Memorial Day on C-SPAN, plenty of events that we will show you throughout the day this coming Monday that you can watch on our various networks. It starts 10 o'clock Eastern. The organization Freedom 250 and the American Veterans Center will host the 2026 National Memorial Day Parade along Constitution Avenue here in Washington, D.C. The president at noon will lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Cemetery. And then he'll speak along with military officials at the annual Memorial Day observance at Arlington Memorial Amphitheater at 8:30 in the evening on Memorial Day. Freedom 250 hosts an evening candlelight and storytelling program to honor military service and sacrifice. The event also will be held at Arlington Memorial Amphitheater, includes a performance by singer and songwriter Gretchen Wilson. All that is available to you this coming Memorial Day on our main channel, C-SPAN. C-SPAN Now, our app, and you can also follow along at cspan.org. Andrew, in Georgia Democrats line, you are next up. Hello.
Good morning. How are you today? And thank you for taking my call. My comments will be directed to the redistricting that's going on in the southern states at this time. And I just want to say to any and everybody that's listening to this, the answer to this is to get registered and go out and vote. Let's make the changes that's necessary by going to the polls and voting, and not just sitting back complaining and throwing rocks and hiding our hand. What we are facing right now is basically, it's already been foretold, because this is of biblical proportions. And if we understand the Bible, we win. No weapon formed against us will prosper.
It's all going to fall apart.
All those that rise up against us, we shall condemn. And we are condemning this by going out, getting registered, and rallying the folks to go to the polls, and let's change, put these people out of office that don't deserve it, and the ones in that do. And you all have a happy Memorial Day, and be blessed.
The redistricting battle is highlighted in the pages of the New York Times this morning amongst comments of two Democrats. This story by Reed Epstein and others saying it was Representative Hakeem Jeffries of New York, the minority leader, continues to push for maximum warfare. That's in quotes, everywhere, all the time. Vowing with a phrase he borrowed from Republicans to redraft lines to give Democrats an advantage not only in Virginia, but across the country before the 2028 elections. Governor Abigail Spanberger of Virginia, whose
Hakeem's watching it all fall apart
as she campaigned for her state's redistricting referendum, is urging her party to drop its quest for partisan advantage in favor of a more pressing issue, winning the midterms. Quote, "It's outrageously premature for us to be talking about any sort of redistricting or map-changing effort when we have to win the most consequential midterms of my lifetime this November," she said in an interview, taking an unsubtle jab at Mr. Jeffries and reflecting broader disquiet amongst Democrats about how to conquer Republican gerrymanders.
Very rare we get Democrat on Democrat news.
After the Virginia Supreme Court ruled the referendum there unconstitutional. More there at the New York Times if you want to read that for yourself. Let's hear from Mickey, Republican line in California. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning, you're on. Go ahead.
Okay. I have voted for the president 3 times. I'm 89, and I like some of his policies, but he is getting so out of hand now with this slush fund, with his ballroom, with his Arc of Trump, with the pool there. It's just absolutely ridiculous. What is happening to him? I don't understand it. As far as the slush fund, why didn't he hold off on that till after November? but he puts everything out there. He keeps repeating himself how good he is. Well, he doesn't go to the market. It's terrible. I have used so much of my savings, and I'm 89, and he
You
has
live
no
in California,
compassion
lady.
for the people. I'm sorry I'm going on, but I pray every day for our troops in Iran, and now the ones down in Cuba. What is he trying to do to us?
That's Mickey there in California.
There's people in Cuba that are literally dying to be liberated.
From on our Republican line, Independent line is next. This is Michelle in Michigan. Hello.
Hello. Hi. I was going to talk about something else, but I just heard that lady, and I think the reason Trump is doing all of this that he's doing to American citizens, he's so angry and petty that he did not win the 2020 election, so he's punishing us. He's robbing us blind. He's making each American destitute. We can't afford anything. He's keeping the war going so that he could pay the big oil companies back. So they need these profits. If everyone would just take a step back and look, this man is trying to destroy America. Please, we must wake up and take our country back. We can't leave it to Congress. We can't leave it to no one. It
Almost
must
riot
be
season.
us, the citizens. We did it. We got our freedom from the American Revolution, and it's terrible. It's terrible what he's doing, and everybody knows this. I just can't believe it. And then all this money he wants to give away. Black Americans have not got reparations yet. Slave owners have. Japanese have. And watch, the people that's in the detention centers now, I bet you any amount of money, years from now, they'll be getting a chunk of money, and we still have nothing.
Let me get that check.
That's all I want to say.
Okay, Michelle there in Michigan. The editorial from the Wall Street Journal this morning, they write under the headline, Trump has lost the governing plot. The subhead, his personal obsessions and retribution are damaging his party. Amongst the things they write, the editors saying Mr. Trump's politics has always been largely personal,
remember
but
that.
in the second term it has become self-indulgent even by his standards. The Trump name on everything, the Beltway Arch and other monuments to French-like grandeur, and most of all of the politics of retribution and lawfare as he seeks to ruin anyone he thinks has wronged him. He seems incapable of rising above, even as voters care much more about the economy and prices, and his job approval falls to new lows. Let's hear from Stephen next in Virginia, Republican line. You're next up.
Yes, I want to underscore, Pedro, that I am calling in on the Republican line because I am a voting Republican.
Oh, my gosh.
I believe that Trump tried to interfere with the transfer of power in 2020. But the story of the week that I think is the story that is always most prominent is one thing, and that is the number 40, 40. I want everyone to remember that because that is where our national debt is going. Everything else is a distraction from the fact that our national debt has grown to $40 trillion and is not being addressed by either the Republicans or the Democrats or anyone else in power successfully. So $40 trillion is what everyone needs to think of. And to put that into perspective, given the current startled indignation about Trump's audacity relative to this slush fund, $1.8 billion, that's the value of the slush fund, represents 1/2 of 1/100th of 1% of 40 trillion. Someone can check my numbers if they want, but 1.8 billion divided into 40 trillion 1/2 of 100 to 1%.
It's a math caller. We got a math caller.
To what we are giving our children.
We'll put that on our checklist.
And how we are running our politics right now, ignoring the national debt. Thank you very much for being there and handling all of this understandable reaction to Trump's audacity.
Republican line, that was Stephen. This is Philip in Massachusetts, Democrats line. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Just like to bring up a couple of topics about the war and how much it's costing for the weapons, and they need to focus more on the American people. And what I want to say is they talked about the reparations for people, that we should get a care package for the American people for going through the problems you see on the TV. You know, the thing I like to see is a stimulus package for the American people to help them and try to do the best we can to cope with the people of the government, you know. But I don't have much more to say. I just say God bless, and may we get help from God above, and that's all I got to say, and I want to say thank you.
Philip there in Massachusetts.
Thanks, Phil.
Let's hear from Homer, Republican line.
Homer!
I'm sorry, Homer's in Massachusetts, Republican line. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Pedro. Thank you so much for taking my call. I watch a lot, and every day you guys quote from or reference the New York Times in their articles or the Washington Post. And to be the New York Times is wrong a lot of the time. They were wrong on Hunter's laptop. They were wrong on Russian collusion. They were wrong on COVID. And I could go just on and on, but that's a waste of time. But I would like you to reference the article by Nicholas Crystal about Israelis training attack dogs. I think your audience should hear that one. Thank you so much.
You mean the opinion columnist Nicholas Kristof?
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at
Why
that.
is it important for people to know?
Pretty fucking ridiculous.
Because that's what kind of garbage comes out of the New York Times. According to Nicholas Kristof, the Israelis were training dogs how to rape Palestinian women, and I just think that's ridiculous.
Okay. Harvey is next. Last call in California, independent line. Hello.
Good morning. First of all, this is the first time I've been able to call in almost half a year. You've purged stuff I said on the 9th of December and the 30th of January, and I talked about the insurrection and stuff that's coming up now, this slush fund. Okay, pardon these guys. You know, they are traitors, as is Trump, and it's outrageous. And that you say you're unfiltered democracy, and then someone brings up a dissenting opinion, and you get purged. Okay, now they violated the constitutional oath. In the Air District here, they've come AI and put false information there and putting up this climate stuff, pulling us out of climate. This is an existential issue. And the slush fund stuff, and backed by the oil companies, the stuff in the Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, like the oil should be the patrimony of humanity. They cost trillions, quadrillions of dollars is the real cost. The slush fund and fraud, waste, and abuse is just the trip. We spend $5 trillion a year on healthcare, and half of that is related to climate, straight up heart, lung disease, and mental, emotional, etc. And that's just part of it. And it goes on for years and years. That is the real. That is the social cost. Under Kennedy, 70% were approved of government. We got 12% now. It's a breach of the social contract. You should not be able to vote in local governments are not for violating the Constitution, the 14th Amendment. The Cowboys for Trump was put out of office. A couple of weeks after they left Trump on the ballot, he threatened violence. Super Tuesday, and that guy that was from New Mexico that was thrown out as a supervisor was the first time in 150 years. It applies.
Okay, Harvey. Thanks for calling, and you'll finish out this round of Top Story. Thanks for all of you who participated. A little later in the program, we will speak about environmental issues, including.
All right, there is 1 hour of open forum. What'd y'all think, folks? Huh? Yeah, it's tough to sit through. I know. That's why I do it for you. Well, and you're sitting here watching it too. So here's the old call distribution. Look at there, 9 independents. Did you really think that some of those people were all independent thinkers? They're most likely people that just try to get in because they can't get in. I tried to call for 2 days now, hundreds of times. Yeah. Kind of sad, I guess. Look at here. Pretty even. Nobody up here in the northwest. Nobody in the mountain region. Probably because they're all still sleeping. But you got the folks out here in California. And then we had 21 calls, 14 different states, 4 cities. We cited 17 sources. New York Times Semaphore was cited twice, New York Times a couple times, Washington Post a couple times. We're going to work on a show bias score somehow to use a known number assigned to like all sides. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but we'll maybe do a video of that. And a checklist. We got all, like a math caller. At least 3 or 4 New Yorkers call in per show that get in. So anyway, that's it. I hope you guys like it, but we logged it, and I do these long form videos so people don't accuse me of not doing the work. So there it is. See ya.